The world is yours. The world is yours. It's mine. Whose world is this?
What's going on, guys? This is Sal U Loans. Welcome to the World is Yours podcast, where we talk about health, wealth, and life. I am your only option for anything mortgage. And today I've got a real special guest. This has been in the making for a long time. I'm super excited about this individual. Very spiritual guy, very respectable guy, entrepreneurial. You guys are going to love him. Akash, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you, brother. Hey, guys, my name's Akashaesthetics. It's my code name right there.
Bam.
Company's Reality Mastery. We do exactly what it sounds like. We help entrepreneurs master their reality.
Awesome, man. So we're going to just dive right into it.
Let's dive in.
Where did your spiritual journey start?
Oh, man. My spiritual journey started on an acid trip about 5-6 years ago. Talk about raw and uncut. That's just the truth right there. One time I took drop some acid with my friends. Like, oh, it's a little trip thing. I'd never done. I'll drink a little bit, smoke a little bit, indulge in some things. But I was like, what is this? And at first I was skeptical. But then my buddy started explaining how he had a higher understanding. And coupled with my observation of him, I'm like, wow, you have so much more of a groundedness and
so you
understanding.
Knew him before.
Yeah, it was a friend of mine. Yeah. Thanks for the clarification. I love that. He had a whole different view on life, and I was very compelled and intrigued, like, where did this come from? He's like, yo, I'm on an acid trip. I saw things that I just didn't see. He gave me perspectives and vantage points on quote-unquote issues I had on my life. And he's like, yeah, you should try it. And I was like, oh okay, I'm all about personal development. I see a lot of growth in you there.
Absolutely.
So took some acid. And, man, I remember just reevaluating everything I thought about life. Like, I saw the matrix for what it was. I remember looking at my wallet. I'm like, this is a piece of plastic. Looking at credit cards. I'm like, this is a piece of plastic. I'm like, buddy, take this piece of plastic. I'm walking Jamba Juice. I'm about to make a smoothie. I'm about to give him a piece. Like, WTF.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Because before, I was very typical, money-hungry entrepreneur guy. No disrespect. It's just that was just describing myself.
Yeah.
I had given money so much power. That was one of the main paradigm shifts that I incurred from, taking some LSD. So, long story short, I just reevaluated my entire position in life and what I wanted to do with myself and my why. It became so much more about service. Not to sound all cliche and everything, but that's the truth. It did. A couple other things. I was walking in the neighborhood. I'm like, whose idea was it? Just take all the trees down, build these roads, look at these houses, squares everywhere. It's like this living, these blocks. And it just wiped away. You know what acid does? It takes away the prefrontal cortex, the thinking mind. It gives you a direct passageway into just unadulterated reality. Right? It takes away all your belief systems. It takes away. It's not that they're gone forever. They're still there. They're still there. Don't freak out. Like, you're not going to erase your identity. No. It removes your identity temporarily, so you could just see things for what they are.
It's funny that you said that. Now, I'll see a lot of guys like Brad Lee, Grant Cardone, even like 50 Cent. These entrepreneurs, these very successful entrepreneurs, say that they progressed astronomical bounds when they stopped worrying about money and started thinking about servicing people, changing people's lives. Forget the money's going to come. I'm going to do this. I want to change the world. Now, when you stepped away from money, was that kind of your idea? You wanted to help people, or
100%.
Okay.
I was looking at the world on that LSD trip, tripping off what the F we have all done out here. Like, we have messed Mother Nature up.
Got you.
And I don't mean coming at it from a tree-hugging hippie perspective. No disrespect if that offends anybody. But I mean, just from what we have created as mankind, men and women included, just as people. I'm like, this ain't right. Why is there some dude sleeping on the floor? Really? Like, why?
So you think it was mainly like social structures?
Social structures, exactly. Like, the world in and of itself, holistically. I'm like, this is not the best way to do it. And then obviously that cascaded into more of a higher learning about, the indigenous people and then these Eastern philosophies and, one thing after the other. And then just a wealth of knowledge opened up to me. I just didn't know what I didn't know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I had a similar experience. It wasn't with acid. I've never taken acid. But I think I was 18 years old. It was the first book I ever read outside of school. I think I've told this story before, but Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Love it.
It just opened my mind to a whole new world. There was a whole new realm that I didn't have access to before. That something in that book resonated with me and just opened up a cortex that I had never accessed before. You know what I mean? And from there, the self-development progress really started, right? That was like the beginning of my self-development journey. Now, I know you're pretty big into self-development. For people, possibly listening to this podcast right now, where do you think a good spot to start in self-development is?
I would say be very ruthlessly honest about yourself, about where you're at, right? If you are an individual that is very green or new to business as a whole, I would recommend just Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the standard, 5, 10, 15 books everyone reads. Profit First, it's a good one. Something else. Think and Grow Rich will give you everything you need. Rich Dad and Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich. Just read those two books. If you're like super amateur, there's nothing wrong with being that. That's where I started too.
Absolutely, we all did.
If you have like a good understanding of business, let's say you've made your first like 100K, right? You're trying to get to multiple six figures. It comes down more like systems and processes at this point. I think the best thing to do is to continue on a basic reading track. You can just Google top 25 books for entrepreneurs, just read all those. Find a mentor at that point. Not to say you can't find a mentor under six figures, but after six figures, just please find a mentor. Because at that point, just when you're going out in the world and using your mind to gather information, it's very seldom you run into people making multiple six figures. So you deliberately seek it out. Like if you seek, you shall find, right? So in the beginning, you can kind of look around, get to a decent spot, hustle. You can hustle your way to six figures for sure. After that, I'm not to say you can't hustle your way to multiple six figures. It just takes longer. Just get a mentor at this point.
Absolutely.
For sure, get a mentor after six figures.
Now, say somebody reads these books. They can't get to six figures. They're not an entrepreneur yet. What do you think would be a good job or activity?
Sales.
100%. I agree.
He's right. Yeah, the sales.
Period. It's it's going to teach you business in the rawest form. Can't generate profit. Not much you can do.
Exactly.
It's definitely step one. Now, how do you think your spirituality translates into your business? Your level of understanding, is that what separates you from your competition, if there is any competition?
Right. It's a great way to phrase the question. So there is no competition because I'm in my own lane, because we're all individuals here. My level of spiritual understanding allows me to have my own position in the marketplace that's solely mine. That's come as a byproduct of the right sequence of moves. There's a lot of tactics, strategies out there that all work, right? There's many paths up the mountain, but which one do you want to take? Spirituality in the business realm, it allows one to know when to say yes to something and when to say no to something, even if all the logic and rationale points to making decision A, but you have this internal guidance system that'll be like, no, B is the right move for you in your specific relationship with God and place of service. And even if you're not religious, just the laws of quantum mechanics for your unique vibrational signature, right? I talk in biblical terms and religious terms as well as just hardcore science. So yeah, I can do both.
Yeah, what you're saying essentially is like the better you know yourself, right? Opposed to maybe working for somebody or creating your beliefs over other people's beliefs, right? Because that's what's essentially going to take you to A instead of B.
Correct.
Your heart's telling you B, but you know you should go A because that's what you're supposed to do. The better you know yourself, the easier it's to take B.
Correct.
And you see that with people like Michael Jordan and Kobe. I don't know if you've read the Tim S. Grover books.
Oh, I love Tim Grover.
Absolutely. That's what he talks about. He talks about don't think.
Just do.
Just do.
Yep.
Whatever comes first. And I talk to my agents a lot about this, Don't overthink a marketing plan. Don't overthink your next step in business. Do it. Adjust from there, right? You're going to make mistakes in the beginning. And as you make mistakes, I feel in my business, as I've made mistakes, I've got to know myself better. Because what works for you isn't going to work for me, right? Or it could, but it might not, right? We each have to find our own individual path. And I really feel like that's what spirituality does for people in business.
I love that. I would agree.
Awesome. Let me take this down real quick. So there's a quote from Mr. Mike Tyson, and I want to get your feedback on it.
All right.
So, not everybody you fight is your enemy. Not everybody that helps you is your friend. How do you take that quote?
There's things that happen, good and bad, should be out of the equation at a certain level of understanding, assuming that you know yourself at least 51%. Right? You need to know yourself at least 51% to be on the winning side of discernment. So at this point, good and bad just goes out the window. They just turn into things that are happening and how you orient to them. Is this in resonance with my vision or not? Because even the person that helping you not being your friend, just gave you valuable data about how to increase the precision of your filter that you will use in, should I become business partners with this person? Should I befriend this person? Should I do this deal with this person? All these things are data-based. They're information. Who cares if he's your friend or not? What'd you learn?
Absolutely.
And same with the enemy thing. Man, haters, man, they're the best consultants, man. They tell you what you suck at.
100%.
Tell you what you suck at. You know what I mean? Like, these are all positive things that are coming from these quote-unquote, some would say, bad situations. I'm not saying that you don't experience a negative emotion or a tough emotion from it. That's why I just don't like the words good and bad. Like, things is happening. Life is happening. How are you orienting to it?
What are you turning it into?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've had, at least in my past, I've had plenty of haters who've kind of addressed my issues that I didn't see in myself. And not that I would change myself at this point, but it helped me get to know myself better. And eventually, if you continue to be yourself, what I've seen happen in business is those haters kind of turn around, right? Because a lot of times people see insecurities within themselves, and that's why they hate. You're doing something a certain way, and they've already told themselves in their mind, I can't do it that way. This way doesn't resonate with me, right? Even certain goals, right? Well, you can't do that in your first year. Can't do that in your second year. This guy's crazy. What is he thinking? Why is he reaching for that? Why is he doing it this way? He should be doing it this way. And then you get far enough on that trajectory, and your haters can turn into your best business partners. I've seen that in the past.
Yeah, I've seen everything happen.
Yeah. It's pretty insane.
It is.
Pretty insane. Business is a good way to get to know yourself.
Oh, very much so.
Absolutely. So a little bit more about you.
Yeah.
Curiosity out of myself. When you took that acid, what was the scenario? Like, did you go on a hike? Did you go, you know what I mean? Where were you? Were you at school?
Yeah. So we're in this neighborhood park. It was like, okay, so it was not a park. It was like a wildlife preserve. Excuse me. It's like not like a neighborhood park, but there was a neighborhood that went to a park that connected to like this really big wildlife preserve. There's like a river. I don't know if you're familiar in Sacramento, William B. Pond Park.
I think so.
Anyway, it was cool. There's birds, animals, trees. You can't like hear cars and stuff or whatnot. So yeah, I was very immersed I was very much immersed in nature. I think that's the best place to have any. And please make sure that you're with someone who has experience in what you're doing, and not just bad. Don't be around any bad company, because when you're open like that, you're also open to like negative energy too. So it's a little pro tip: make sure everyone's like a pure person that you're around. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Give it some. Be very stringent about who you allow when you're taking mushrooms or doing acid or anything like that. Be very, very critical.
So was it like
yeah, I was with my boys. We're just over there, so just walking around, just getting downloads from the universe. I'm like, wow, just reevaluating different perspectives and paradigms. Like, wow.
So is it like a visual experience? Like, I mean, what kind of happens for those people that haven't taken it out there?
So, there's a microdose and a full dose. I recommend. For me, I was already a very strong-willed person. I had done some mushrooms. I have dabbled in marijuana and stuff. And at the same point, I've also used my grit a lot in life. So I felt comfortable taking a full dose. Be honest with yourself. I mean, if you're extremely afraid, I wasn't afraid. So if you're afraid, please start with a microdose. That's a good idea. If you feel no fear, you're pretty confident, you've been able to handle adversity really well, because you're gonna just look at things so differently, so fast, such a high intensity. If you don't have the faculties available to sustain that, you know, you can have a bad trip. No one wants to have a bad trip.
Was there anything that came up from your past? And the reason why I ask, I was watching this Netflix documentary. I don't know if you've seen that one yet.
Which
about
one?
acid.
I have not.
I don't know what the name is, but this guy was talking about, so he takes a hit of acid, and all of a sudden he goes into this like alternate universe, right? And he's in his mother's womb, and there's an umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, right? And he somehow, you know, it was a big struggle. It was a bad trip, but he somehow gets that umbilical cord out from around his neck, and he said he never felt that free in his life. He had always felt fear, right? And he goes back and he asks his mom, and there were complications during his birth. So, like, what they were saying was those memories were registered in his brain, and they were kind of holding him back from everything in life. Did you have any type of experience like that?
So not in that exact context,
Okay.
but I will tell you another story about an old mentor of mine that I had that I invested a lot of my time and energy and resources learning. I'm leave his name out of it. Real estate mentor. And
It's not me, guys.
it wasn't Tell. It was not Tell. Long story short, there came a time where I needed to borrow some money. Now, I had borrowed some money from him many times in the past, like paid it back days. Because I was just making moves. I'm over here swinging.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm like, yo, I need like 10 bands real quick. Just whoop-de-whoop. I'm
Bang,
about to make this move right now. I'm about to just put it in the whoop-whoop. It's going to come back. And it did every
Yeah.
time. The one time it didn't, I'm like, yo, I need some more time. He just flipped on me. And I'm like, what? Like, you're my boy. What's going on? First of all, I'm tried and true. Just, you know what I mean? Like, I have a track record with you.
Pull
You
the
know
pinky,
how I
don't
get.
play with my emotions.
I was just like, I felt so betrayed at that time. I'm like, bro, I'd be picking up the check when we're eating. Dude's like got like 15 times more money than me for sure. You know what I mean? I'm just being respectful from as a youngin' getting game. At least I can do is pick up the lunch tab.
Copy.
You know? At that point, I felt very unfairly treated. Very unfairly treated. Fast forward, acid trip. I'm reflecting on this moment because of the filter, the glasses that colored my experience at that time were removed using that medicine
Yeah.
tool, if you will. I was able to look at it from just an unbiased position. And I'm like, no one has really showed him love like I did. Very ruthless businessman. Marriage wasn't going too good. Friends had taken advantage of him. These are all things that I was experiencing in our relationship that he would tell me and things and whatnot, which I couldn't see at that time when I was just blanketed with that betrayal.
Yep.
But then when I could step out of my own perception of the situation based on, you know, it was real for me. Absolutely. That's how I felt. Absolutely. I'm not saying that what I felt was like improperly placed. It was for surely valid what I felt, for sure. However, when I looked at it from his perspective and put my consciousness in his perspective, I could totally see how he reacted that way, and it aided me in forgiving him. We're not cool today, but I do forgive him.